Welcome to Biztech's Asia's hottest startup show. Now, this show highlights hot startups in the region that have a potential to become unicorns. Today's hot startup is Salmon. And no, we're not talking about fish. Salmon was actually established in July 2022 and is a financial services company based in the Philippines. It aims to provide banking and credit services to the underbanked communities across Southeast Asia. To tell us more about the company and what inspired them to start the business is Raffy Montemayor. He's the co-founder of Salmon. Raffy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Now, Rafi, for a start, could you give us an overview of Salmon, your background in banking and e-commerce, and how that helped you define a clear value proposition for Salmon?
Sure. So let me first introduce a little bit about myself. So I spent the first half of my career in HSBC Philippines. I did sales, marketing, and portfolio management for the credit cards business, and that was how I was exposed to banking and consumer lending in the Philippines. And that's also where I saw how credit cards are not being used as a tool for financial inclusion. Right? Only 5% of the population has a credit card. And credit cards are the main way that banks provide credit to the population. So that stuck with me. I then took further studies abroad, got exposed to the tech space, fell in love with it, and wanted to be a part of it in the Philippines when I graduated. Then I took on country leadership roles at Agoda, OLX, and Carousel. So great tech companies in the respective fields, helped them enter the market, build traction, and grow their business. Then the pandemic hit. And I think like many other Filipinos, I saw how bad financial inclusion still was. I mean, there were opportunities as well. For example, Gcash from nothing, there are like 90 million plus users within 4 years. But when it comes to access to credit, that continued to still be a problem. And so that's why I was looking for opportunities where I could add value here. And that's the same for Pavel and George, my other co-founders, and our co-founding team. We all saw the problem around financial inclusion in the Philippines and in the region, and that it's something that we can really help be a part of the solution. So we decided to found Salmon in July 2022. And our ambition is to become the best modern bank in Southeast Asia, starting with the Philippines.
Okay, that's interesting. You define it as a best modern bank. Now, explain to us then how exactly your product and service offerings serve your merchants as well as your consumers.
Yes. So when we started, we decided to enter the point of sale installment loan market. We wanted to make sure that we do have the right approach. We want to be credit led, and really the gap in the market is providing access to credit to underserved, underbanked Filipinos. And the way we want to reach out to them is through retail stores. So on November 2022, we launched our first point of sale installment loan product or in-store financing in a helmet store. We started with one store, showed that despite this being an existing product, I mean, there's an incumbent in the market that provides the same product. On day one, we did it better because we use advanced technology to make the user experience a lot better, a lot faster.
So it like what? What have you done better than the incumbent?
Yeah. So a customer that's looking to finance their purchase at the retail store, when they apply with us, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to go through the application. We take up one picture of the applicant, one picture of their government ID, and then we process the application within less than 30 seconds. Right? And the incumbent in the market, for new customers, it takes 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And for Filipinos, we are busy. Limited time when they're going in a mall, they're looking to buy something. Imagine that they have to sit down for an hour and a half just to see whether they'll be able to get approved for financing. So we do it a lot faster. We use advanced technology because we know what are the important information you really need in a credit application. We use alternative data to help us properly score people and understand whether they'll be good payers or bad payers or they're fraudsters. So the fact that we're able to do that in a very short amount of time, it benefits the user at the end of the day.
Now, Raffy, how do you then, and this is a key problem with new credit providers, keep your non-performing loans at a sustainable level? And what is your non-performing loan rate right now?
So it's not something that we're able to disclose, but we have a healthy margin between the interest rate we provide customers and the risk, the cost of risk that we have in terms of our loan portfolio. Now, what's very important is that we make the right decision at the very beginning, because that really feeds into our delinquency rates, right? So if we can properly distinguish a good payer from a bad payer from a fraudster, then we're able to make the right decision and we're better able to manage the process along the way. And then, of course, it's important for us to have a comprehensive strategy when it comes to collections, right? There are things that we do when a customer defaults within 1 day, 7 days, 30 days. We work with our own in-house collections team, which we're scaling up. We work with third-party agencies. And at times when they're fraudsters, we take them to court, right? Because we want to educate people that, they need to be responsible in how they use financial products, especially when it comes to credit. And if you're a fraudster, we will really hold you accountable, right? So that you know that this is not something that you can continue to do. So these are things that we do to make sure that we're able to manage risks, especially credit risks.
Now, Raffy, you was started in 2022. In October of that year, you raised 16 million in a Series A, and then you raised another 20 million debt facilities from Argentum Creek Partner. And tell us about the funding that you've taken so far and how that's helped you execute your strategy, particularly the fact that you've acquired a controlling interest in a rural bank of Santa Rosa.
Yes. So we raised $60 million in October 2022. That allowed us to build the team we needed, especially since we invested heavily into product and tech people who could help us build and launch the platform. So we used that to build the team and also to start building our loan portfolio. But because we are looking to scale up significantly, it really made sense for us to secure debt funding that we would be used primarily to scale up the loan portfolio. And that's why we secured the $20 million debt funding from Argentum Creek Partners. We've used that to ramp up our lending. We offer not only point-of-sale installment loans, but now we offer cash loans, as well as our revolving credit line product. And we're reaching a lot more Filipinos. And that also allowed us to acquire a majority stake at the Rural Bank of Santa Rosa, Laguna, which now allows us to offer a full suite of debit and credit products to Filipino consumers and eventually to micro SMEs as well.
Now, Raffy, obviously there's a huge opportunity in the Philippines, as you said, with an underbanked and unbanked population. As you said, as little as 5% of consumers really have access to consumer products. What's the strategy for you for the next 12 to 24 months?
So it's important for us to have a sustainable funding base, right, for our loan portfolio. And so we are upgrading the license of our rural bank, which will allow us to offer debit products, deposits, savings accounts, time deposits to Filipinos, not just in the local communities which the bank serves, but really to offer these products nationwide. Once we have that, we'll be able to really scale up our deposit portfolio, which we can then use and deploy to our profitable lending business, which will allow us then to also further offer point-of-sale loans, cash loans, revolving credit lines, and even more credit products to a wider base of Filipinos.
Now, Raffy, I want to focus now on you. Really, in the last 2 years, you have executed, and again, it looks like you've executed very, very well. Could you share with other entrepreneurs what are some of the lessons learned in the past 2 years and how perhaps your background in banking and e-commerce has shaped your decision making?
So my experience with HSBC Philippines, allowed me to understand where the gap is, because for many credit card issuers at the time, we would blacklist people who work in call centers, teachers, security guards, blue collar workers of the service economy. And they could not access credit from formal financial institutions, including banks. And those are exactly the people who we are providing access to credit right now. They are our main customer segment, and we've proven that they are good payers. And that includes agricultural workers, promo merchandisers at retail stores. We were able to lend to people even if they don't have a traditional employment, right? So my background has allowed us, and it's not just me, right? It's a team effort. Like, we all have this diverse background within banking and financial services, where it allows us to identify what are the areas that traditional banks, traditional financing companies are not able to cater to. And those are the segments that we have now targeted and made sure we design the user experience so that we cater to their needs, right? And we can see already that our efforts are bearing fruit, right? So we regularly check on customers, and we see that 92% of our customers will recommend us to their friends and family, right? We also see our app score rating, right? It's 4.6 to 4.8, which is really great for what right now a purely lending company, because there are some negative perceptions when it comes to lending, and oftentimes that gets reflected on how people rate your app.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, we have a really great app. We're providing a really straightforward user interface that our customers are really appreciating, and that compares with the 1 to 2 ratings of the largest banks in the Philippines, right? So there are a lot of people who are trying to access financial services. They're getting frustrated because the traditional banks, the traditional companies are not able to service them in an easy, simple, efficient way. And we're now able to provide that in the products that we're offering. And as we grow the financial services that we offer, then we'll be able to cater to more and more of these Filipinos who deserve better.
So, Raffy, then what are some of the things that perhaps with lessons learned you would do differently when you've been executing Salmon?
So not lessons in terms of doing things differently, but we realized that we really need to be open to the needs of the local market. I mean, there's something we knew going in. We're who have successfully done modern banking, digital banking, neo banking in developed markets. But when you can't just plug and play, bring that and implement it in the Philippines, because the Philippines is very different. Each country is very different. And we've had to iterate along the way. Our application form has changed multiple times over just a few months, especially when we launched our point of sale installment loan. Because we are realizing, okay, certain things, they help us differentiate good payers from bad payers. But then certain information actually doesn't. So why do we still ask those? Because it's not adding any value. It's making the user experience poorer because it's a longer time to application. So we've iterated and optimized our application to help us separate the risks, but also to provide a better user experience. And you need to be open to that. I think we've also learned that you can't just purely rely on third-party service providers. It helps when you're a startup and you need to move fast, right? But we've learned that we need to actually develop things ourselves. So, for example, our KYC or facial recognition system, we use the popular third-party service provider who's internationally recognized. And they helped us to a certain respect. But then we realized the limitations, and it was actually quite expensive. So we decided, we built our own AI and machine learning capabilities in-house. We built our own facial recognition tool, and now it's able to do better than third-party service providers at like 10% of the cost. And we need to be able to do that because it's a priority for us as a startup to become a sustainable business.
Yeah.
Right. And in the second half of last year, we moved to positive unit economics on our first loan. And that's a really important milestone for us because many lenders in the space, not just in the Philippines, but in other countries, they lose money on the first loan they provide customers in the hopes that on the second product they cross-sell or third product they cross-sell, that's where they make the money. But for us, because of our huge ambitions and the need to be sustainable, we want to make money on the first loan. And that's what we've achieved in the second half of last year through a lot of iterations, experimentations. And then this year, it's now about scaling up massively. Like our expectation is by the end of this year, we grow 10x in terms of many revenue metrics.
Raffy, it's been a fascinating conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing more things from Salmon in the years ahead. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
I think that I'd like to share that the Philippines is a great market and has been underinvested in financial services, especially when it comes to access to credit. And we really want more players in the space to come in and consider the Philippines, because the more financial services companies in the Philippines who are looking at access to credit, it becomes a much more developed and better ecosystem for everybody involved, because it's not a winner take all market the way e-commerce is, right? Like in banking, many people can be successful, and oftentimes it helps to have many players trying to do the same things because we can leverage off of each other. So inviting everybody to consider the Philippines a lot more.
On that note, Raffy, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
Thanks as well, Brian.
I'm Brian Fernandez, and we've been speaking to Raffy Montemayor. He's the co-founder of Salmon. And this has been Biztech's Asia's Hottest Startup Show. The show will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.